Your body's your vessel. It's your temple.
Yes.
It's your sacred vessel, your home here in this lifetime. So like, yes, nourishing your body with nourishing foods and enjoying yourself and going out and eating what you want and not
Yeah.
tying the
Mm-hmm.
shame and self-worth to the
Mm-hmm.
food. And that really comes with that self-love and talking to yourself like you are your own internal parent and showing yourself so much love and compassion.
Hello and welcome to Going Beyond with Brittany. I'm your host, Brittany Bento, a tarot reader and psychic medium. And on this podcast, we dive into all things spiritual, mystical, and supernatural. So if that sounds like something up your alley, this is definitely the podcast for you. You can consider me your spiritual big sis or just your spiritual friend as we delve into conversations that aim to expand our mind and consciousness. I'm excited to have you here with me today, so let's dive into the episode. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Going Beyond with Brittany. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm really excited. Today's episode, we are joined by Holly Krack, and I'm going to do her little intro in a moment. I'm going to introduce her to you guys soon. But before we do, let's dive into a little bit of a life update. Before the life update, today's episode with Holly, we are talking about nutrition. We are talking about how it affects the body, mind, and spirit. We're talking about confidence. We talk about eating disorders. We just talk about a lot of things that have to do with health. And I think it's super important to talk about. It's something that's not talked about enough, especially because, recently I have been dealing with some struggles when it comes to my eating disorder. I had an eating disorder for years, and I am at a place now where it's the best it's ever been, but it's still one of those things. And as I'm healing and as the shadows are being brought to surface, really, especially recently, this shadow specifically has been coming up. So this is really, I'm like trying to get like comfy in my chair here. If you're like watching me, it's like, anyways, this episode is really timely for me because I'm going through some struggles currently when it comes to, how I perceive myself, how I perceive my body, how I feel in my body. Triggers from the past are being brought back up, but I know it's because I'm meant to face these things, and I know it's I know it's because I'm meant to heal and grow. And I feel like this topic is not talked about enough. So I'm really excited to dive into the episode. But let's do a little bit of a life update, and then I will introduce you to Holly, and then we'll dive into the meat and potatoes of today's episode. So last life update, I think I told you about like what was going on in my dating life mainly. And I think I mentioned like that I'm meeting up with somebody that I've been talking to for a while, and that hasn't happened yet. He'll actually be here in like an hour. His plane like lands in an hour. And I'm like, ah. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little excited, but it's interesting because I'm going into this with no expectations, but also knowing my worth. And, I'm really going to just, I don't know, I know there's an experience here that the universe is presenting me with, and I know there's something to learn from this. I don't know what it is, so I'm not having any expectations, but I'm going to go into this as the higher version of myself because I've been doing a lot of healing and whatnot. So the next life update, I'll give you the update as to, what happened. Maybe I'll end up, maybe he'll take me out and I'll be like, oh, this is not what I thought it would be. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's not going to be what I think, but we'll see. I'll keep you posted. I'm not going to give any like details, but I'll keep you posted with that experience because hell, I mean, I don't know what I got myself into sharing. I'm a true Scorpio and I like don't really share things, but anyways, 333 on the timer. That's my number. But so scattery brained right now because I'm a little nervous, guys. I'm a little nervous. But besides that, I've been meeting people recently who I met on social media. So like TikTok, Instagram, people that I've been connecting with over the last year since I really started this spiritual journey, since I quit my job, since my breakup, since my life has completely changed a lot. left my life. And now things are starting to come in. I'm starting to see the things come in. And it's just so interesting, really living out this spiritual journey and seeing how it really works firsthand, because I'm truly walking the walk, like everything I preach, I do. And it's scary. It's not easy. And it's just so interesting. It's true. Like when you make space for new things to come in, new things start coming in. I got to meet up with JK Ultra Jen. For those of you who know who that is, she's been on my podcast twice before. So I got to meet her in person the other day, which was so fun. It was so cool. We just sat, we just hung out. I went to her apartment. And it was really nice to meet her. I also got to meet up with my cousin, who I haven't seen in a few years. So it was really nice to see him. He was also on my podcast a while back, one of my first episodes. So I got to catch up with him. He's in California as well. Jen's in California, which is why we were able to meet. So it's been really cool just meeting more people that are, I feel, in my soul family, as weird as that sounds. And even Holly, it's funny. After the episode, she's like, "Oh, where are you right now?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm still in San Diego." And she's like, "Me too." And I was like, "Stop it right now. We could have filmed this episode together." Anyways, we ended up hanging out the following day, and it was just, I feel just so divinely led, like how she came into my reality, how we ended up doing this podcast when we did, and then we ended up hanging out. And, she's just such a beautiful soul, beautiful spirit. And it's just a nice, the universe just bringing people together that are very much so aligned. And she has I'm getting chills. She sees things the same way as me. We have similar mindset. We are going through obviously different things, but a similar journey, our own spiritual journeys. And it's just beautiful I'm getting chills. I have so many chills. I'm so excited. Spirit is just really bringing in my soul family, and I'm excited to see what comes next. As it goes with like my meditations and stuff, some crazy things have really started happening. Spirit is really encouraging me to share more. These group of beings, man, I don't know if I'm going to share the clip yet. I should. I know I should, but I need to get to the place of being more confident and comfortable with myself of sharing this on my social medias. But essentially, they came through to me and they told me that I could call them honey, the group of beings. And they basically said they are like not a beehive. They are like they basically told me that they were like a bee colony. It's not just one spirit. They said that I can call them honey, and they are like a bee colony. I have access to a bee colony, and there's a bunch of them, and they relay me messages, and I could refer to them as honey. And it's just, that was wild to me. I'm like, wait, is that real? Or Brittany, are you crazy? Do I need to check myself into like a ward or something? But no, I need to stop telling myself that I'm crazy. I need to believe in it and talk about it. So it's evolving, and it's crazy, and it's evolving. It's interesting. It's like when I make leaps and bounds in my healing, it's evolved even more. So I'm really just focused on my healing right now, my healing journey, my growth. And I know that a lot of experiences are coming into my existence to help me grow even more. For example, this, this guy that's coming that I'm going to meet. We'll see. We'll see. It's crazy. Life's crazy. I feel like in 6 months from now, my life is going to be drastically different. My life's already drastically different than what it looked like 6 months earlier. So these next 6 months, I don't even know where to start. But let me introduce you to Holly Krack. Holly Krack is an Institute of Integrative Nutrition certified health coach. She has been in the holistic health coaching space since 2020 and absolutely loves the work she gets to do with her one-on-one clients as well as her group coaching clients, which is a community of women supporting women on their health journeys. Holly is passionate about raising awareness around the mental health crisis that we are facing in the U.S., seeing that she has struggled with anxiety and an eating disorder in silence for so many years. She hosts corporate workshops at various companies around San Francisco area where she lives, as well as virtual corporate workshops about how to support your mental health through holistic healing modalities. She also creates content for conscious health food companies such as Thrive Market, Hugh Kitchen, Navitas Organics, and MOCU Health, or Moku Health. Holly knows firsthand how lonely and isolating it can feel when you're struggling with your relationship with food and your body. She struggled with an eating disorder beginning in college and never thought she could be in a good place mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. But now that she is, she has to share how she got here. Her mission is for other women and men struggling on their health journey to know that they are never alone and that there is a way out. She truly believes that you can have a healthy relationship with yourself, your body, and food without restriction or deprivation. You can feel confident in your own skin, free from the cycle of restricting, binging, and emotional eating. You can fully and completely love and accept yourself as you are. If you're looking for support, she would love to chat. She offers a free 30-minute discovery call that you can book through her website to learn more about her and ways she can support you. All of Holly's links will be posted in the show notes below, in the description box below, so definitely check that out if you're interested. But without further ado, let's jump into the episode and let's welcome Holly. Hello, Holly. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you. Like I said.
Like you said before. So for those listening, this is actually our second time recording. We got about 20 minutes into the episode and technical fouls, technical difficulty, let's just say that. I lost the recording. So anyways, we are starting over. Round two. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason. And I truly trust that. So maybe there was something in there that spirit was like, shh. I mean, who knows? And do you know what? Or maybe there's something that we're going to bring up this time around that we didn't bring up the first time that, is much needed. So we're going to go in with that mindset. But thanks for being here and for, taking the time.
Yes. And I want to say too, because I was going to say, like I said on the last intro, I've been following you and I love your energy and I feel your authenticity and I'm just so excited to be here with you today and be able to have this kind of conversation with you. And I'm just so excited to be here. So thank you for having me.
Well, no, thank you. And I'm excited to have you on as well. For those listening, Holly, actually, you booked a reading with me and I did a reading for you. And this is something that never really happens, but we ended up getting into conversation about like what you do. Cause I think based on the cards, I was like, what do you do? Like I was so curious or something like that. And I just really felt aligned with you. I've really felt aligned with what you're doing. And I think that what you're doing very much so is something that brings a lot of value to a lot of people. And I was like, I want to have you on my podcast. And here we are now. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. For those listening, we're going to be talking about eating disorders, body image, all of that stuff. So if that's something, I recommend listening to this because, I'm going to let Holly speak on this in a moment because you articulated it really well the first time. I think we're going to have a lot of really good conversations surrounding this topic. I know that I should give a little bit of a trigger warning though, so based on where you're at mentally, proceed with whatever you think is best for you. Holly, what were you saying the first time? Because I really liked how you articulated that.
Yeah, I think the more that I get into this work and have these kinds of conversations, I realize that it is really triggering for people, but I'm so open now. And so it's triggering, I feel like, because this is something like universally that people struggle with, but it's not talked about enough. The more I get into this work, the more I realize how many people struggle with their relationship with themselves, their bodies, and food. And the more you can talk about it freely and openly, like the more you feel less alone. And if you are feeling triggered, that's a big indicator that there's some work that needs to be done there. You're not triggered. You're being triggered for a reason. So like getting in, being an investigator and being like, oh, why is this triggering? What's coming up for me when I hear about this? It's so powerful to be able to be honest with yourself and listen with an open heart and an open mind, because there's so much value in speaking about if you've struggled with your relationship with yourself and your body and food. It takes the power away because there's so much shame that gets associated with struggling with it. I just remember feeling so alone when I was struggling. Yeah, if anyone's struggling, you're not alone. And this is like universally, collectively, people are really struggling with this. So the more we can have open communication about this stuff, the more powerful
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one thing that I wanted to mention, this is something that I struggled with for my entire life and something that I still struggle with today. And for majority of my life, nobody knew, and nobody knew because of exactly what you said, because of the shame. I was too ashamed to even admit it to myself. My eating disorder looked a lot different than what maybe the quote unquote eating disorder looks like. I would go to the gym twice a day because I felt like I needed to. The amount of guilt that would come if I didn't. I would obsessively be counting my calories, and something that you talked about before, which I'm going to ask you to talk about your story again, but you were talking about how you didn't look like you had an eating disorder. And that's exactly the same with me. If anything, I looked strong. I looked healthy. There was a time where, I had like a 6-pack, like muscles, like nobody would know, yet I would be so restrictive. And then I would binge at night. There was other times where, like I said, obsessively counting my macros, needing it to be very, very precise. And it's different for everybody because of the shame. I didn't admit to it, and only recently am I realizing how much I put on my self-image and how I really kind of tied that to my self-worth. And I'm learning how to break that tie, because how you look is not associated with your self-worth. There's no shame in it, regardless of who you are, whether you're male, female, or however you identify. Like, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. It's not just teenage girls, which I think is often like the stereotype. I would love to hear your story and how this started for you, because what you do is so needed. And I could tell that you're so passionate by this. Like, your passion lies in this. I could see it. It shines through what you do and on your Instagram page. And oftentimes for a person to do something with such passion, it's because you've experienced things in the past. And it's almost like you had to experience things. You had to experience all these feelings so that you could be so good at what you do, so that you can relate to other people who are going through this. So I'm curious what that story is for you, and how it turned into where you're at now.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like you said, there's so much shame associated. Like, I actually didn't even admit to myself that I had struggled with an eating disorder until like last year, when I was really creating my new program of like how to feel good and get to the other side. If you're struggling with your relationship with yourself, your body, and food, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have an eating disorder, but collectively, especially for women, we really struggle with body image because so much value is placed on how we look and so much worth is placed on what we look like. And it's, taking that power back. But there was so much shame, like I felt in my body when I finally admitted I had an eating disorder, that I had one. I'm like, oh my God, that feels scary. I don't want anyone to know. Oh my God, what if I come out with this? Like, people are going to think that, they're going to think so differently of me. Like, I was so scared when I finally like put out a post that I had an eating disorder. I was like, people are going to think of me so differently. But then that's where the self work of like, but I know who I am and I love who I am and I know why I'm doing this. And I actually don't care what other people think, because I know collectively this is something that so many people are struggling in silence with, that feels so alone, because I felt so alone. The more I can be open and be vulnerable, that gives other people permission to be open and vulnerable. And that's why I love you and your posts, is because you're very open, you're very vulnerable, and that's giving other people permission. And it's so powerful. And we need more leaders like this, because we need people to feel safe being able to speak about themselves and their struggles and what's coming up. So it's not a secret. That's where the shame comes in, because it's a secret. So it's releasing that shame and being open with your struggles, because there's other people struggling and you can get the support that you need. And you don't have to struggle alone, and it's possible to feel good. So I'm so passionate about this work because I really reflected. I had a coach that helped supported me really go back. What was my story? What did I struggle with? And like, how did I get here where I am today, being able to support other women. And so I've had to go on the journey of really going back of like when I really started to struggle. And when I look back, I thought it started in college, but like the more I work with my inner child and do like inner child work, inner teenage work, all that kind of stuff, I know that it started when I was a child. Like I didn't feel good enough. Like I wasn't smart. I did not do well in school. I wasn't great at sports that I played. I played sports, but I wasn't great. I was pretty quiet. I didn't know like what to talk about. I wasn't super outgoing. So I feel like I almost felt invisible. Like I just wanted to be invisible. And I didn't feel like I was good enough. But I knew growing up, like through grade school, high school, like I got attention because of how I looked. So, and like guys liked me because of what I looked like. So I placed so much value on my body and what I looked like and all of that. So when I got to college was really when my restricting and over exercising really started to happen. Because when, like, we get to college, we're drinking more, we're trying to figure out who we are, we're eating out, we're doing all of that kind of stuff. It's like we're just trying, we're just free, we're on our own for the first time. So, like, already going into college, I felt very uncomfortable in my own skin. I've always felt super uncomfortable in my own skin, and drinking was something that was like literally a pacifier for me. Like, I had to be drinking to feel comfortable, to feel safe. So I was drinking even more when I got to college and eating out and like not taking care of myself. And I think like the freshman 15, all of that kind of stuff, like that is a real thing, like you said before. And, I felt my body changing, and I already like didn't feel comfortable, and I put so much value on what it looked like. And then something that just really set me off was a guy from my high school had texted me and said, if you gain weight, like I'm not going to be friends with you anymore. And I don't even like consider that person a friend, but I was so fragile at that state and so low that I was like, oh my God, if I gain weight, if I change how I look, like it's actually like I'm not going to have friends. It's not safe for me to gain weight or look different. Like I have to maintain what I look like now, or else I'm not going to be liked. It felt like my fight or flight was triggered. And I'm like, oh my God, it's actually not safe.
In that moment, it's associating your self-worth directly to your physical appearance, and your self-worth should not be directly correlated to your physical appearance, because they're two very different things. And you shouldn't feel like you need to look a certain way to feel good about yourself. And, for those watching, the first time you told me this, my jaw literally dropped. So if your jaw dropped too, like I mean, this time I heard it already, so it didn't come as much of a surprise, but I just wanted to mention that, because that's, like to hear that from somebody, like, let alone already kind of going through, body image things. And then to have somebody say that's, man, especially in college, you just want to be liked, right? Like as you were saying before, nobody really knows who they are yet in college. If you do, like that's a rarity, but you're figuring out who you are, you're discovering about yourself, and you want to be accepted and you want to have friends. And there's nothing wrong with that. To hear that at a time when you are so fragile and really just discovering who you are, that's a comment that could really like hit hard, I guess is my point. So, and I'm sorry that happened.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like I've come so far. So like if someone said that to me today, that would never impact me. Like I know that like majority of what people say is a projection on how they're feeling. So I can look back, have so much love and compassion for myself and be like, "Oh baby, I'm so sorry that's what set it off." But like, I was already low, and I can show that the person that sent me that text so much love and compassion, because obviously they weren't in a good place either to send something like that. So I have no hard feelings on that. And I would never disclose who that was or anything like that. But that's what really set me off. And then there was already, we're in college. I already had some people around me that were restricting foods and exercising. And so I quickly found out, okay, like if I just don't eat that much and I go work out, I can maintain this figure. I can be skinny. and skinny is safe and I need to stay skinny. Like that was literally my thought process. And it just became so obsessive. I would go to the dining hall, eat immediately afterwards, have to go work out for over an hour. The elliptical, I was like constantly on the elliptical, just trying to burn calories. Like literally, I was always at the gym. Then it's like drinking on top of that would also lead to binge eating because I wasn't eating like throughout the day. So then when I would get back, eating so much and like, feeling like shit and the shame and the guilt the next morning. And then, okay, I need to go work out. I can't go out this weekend if I don't go and work out and like all of that kind of stuff. So mine became just my thoughts were literally consumed by what I was eating, when I could go work out next. That was it. Like I didn't even have the capacity to really like think of anything else. And then I would just be drinking and trying to like forget about all of this kind of stuff. It was a coping mechanism. And then, get right back up. And it's like looking back, I feel like I didn't retain much of what I even learned in college because my thoughts were so focused around what I looked like and what I was eating and all of that kind of stuff. It's all consuming. It's just like all consuming. And the more I realize I'm not alone in that. I wasn't alone in that, but I felt super alone in that. After college, I was like very lost. I got a communication degree from Ohio University, but I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, no sense of self, no like outside identity, just like really just in my own world of food, working out, all of that, just consumed. I was working like admin jobs and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but I felt really lost and I felt really alone and I felt really anxious and like my anxiety was at an all-time high. I feel like I had two choices in that moment. Really looking back, I had two choices. It's like, okay, I could go one route and go to a doctor and get prescribed anxiety medication and maybe go to some sort of therapy or something to try and get this sorted out. But I hadn't even admitted to myself how bad my eating disorder was. So it's like the thought of going to a therapist or something just didn't feel safe. So I was like, okay, I could go get medicine. Or I had a friend who had gone to this intuitive medium, like a psychic medium, and she had a really good experience with him. So I'm like, okay, intuitively, I felt like I need to go just talk to this man. Like, let's see what he's got for me. So I booked a session with him. I went in and he was just asking like, why are you here? What's up? And what's coming up for you? And I was like, I feel really lost and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And he told me that I needed to get my self-love right. And when I got my self-love right, everything would fall into place for me. And he said, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror every morning and say, I love you. I want you to meditate and I want you to journal about what comes up for you. Get clear on what your self-talk is like, journal, reconnect with yourself. And then he told me to dream big because he asked me, what do you want to do with your life? Like, what do you want to do? What interests you? And I'm like, I don't know. I literally didn't know who I was. I felt like I didn't even know who I was. He's like, you need to dream big and you need to follow what feels right. Listen, like, you're being guided. There's guardian angels, there's spirit guides, like follow what feels right for you. So after that session, I just like needed someone to tell me what to do. So I went home, started doing that, like looking at myself in the morning, like saying I love you to myself in the mirror in the morning. And that's when I realized, oh my God, I hate myself. I literally was so used to looking at myself and like critiquing every part, like picking myself apart, and I think that's something that's so common is like we all like pick ourselves apart in the mirror instead of building ourselves up, tearing ourselves down. We are our biggest critic. And that really became clear. But the more I started saying I love you to myself in the mirror, the more I started associating seeing myself with I love you instead of you are good enough. So that was like the start of that journey for me of like really reconnecting with myself and my true essence and who I am. And I had listened to this woman's podcast, Sahara Rose, and I love her so much. It's the Highest Self podcast. And her podcast episode just kept coming up. Whenever I would get in the car, she kept coming up. And at the end of every episode, she would talk about the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And she had like a discount code. She had gone through the program. It changed the trajectory of her life. All of that kind of stuff just really supported her. And that her podcast kept coming on every time I would go in the car. And that that in that IIN, enroll in IIN, they're, become a holistic health coach, that really kept ringing in my ear. And I'm like, I feel like I need to follow this. Like, this is what I feel like I need to follow. So even though I had already graduated, was working a job, I was working full time, but I felt really called to enroll in this program. And I knew I always liked fitness and food, but it was more in an unhealthy mindset. So I'm like, maybe this is where I'm meant to go so I can learn what it's like to have a healthy relationship with this stuff. And my family was on board. So I enrolled. It was a year-long program that's all online. So I was doing that while I was working full time, just really learned more holistic health practices like meditation, journaling, all of that kind of stuff, like breath work. Breath work is so powerful. And just learning about actually like nutrition, like the basics of nutrition, actual food. Like I had no background on food, nothing like that. Like I thought a salad was healthy. That's like literally, okay, I'm eating salad, I'm healthy. So it's like actually learning different foods, what they do for the body. Food is medicine. Food is nourishing for yourself. You can thrive. Your body can thrive. Your body is your home and your vessel and all of that kind of stuff. Changing my relationship with food and my body and myself. Like that was the start of it. And I was starting to meditate more. So like meditation has totally changed my life as well. But yeah, so then I got certified and I started offering my services, and like right out the gate, I got some clients. So I'm like, okay, I feel like this is what I need to keep doing. Keep putting my time and energy into this, and just feel like I kept making recipes because I feel like I was really focused on the food. So I was making a bunch of recipes and I'm like, okay, people like the recipes. Like, let's keep making these. And that was the beginning. Like I was about like eating healthy, trying to help people get on a healthy lifestyle. Like if they wanted to incorporate healthy things, like this is how you do it. But the more I got in my journey, the more I realized like, it's never been about the food. It's actually never been about the food. For me, it was never about the food, but I had made my whole page, all of this about the food. And I'm like, it's so much more than the food. Like my relationship with food changed when I changed my relationship with myself. And that was a byproduct of how I felt. Like, then I was like, whoa, I need to change direction here. Cause I was attracting in people that were just like, it's very surface level. Like, okay, what goals do you want to reach? Where do you want to go with this? Like, let's start incorporating healthy habits for you and like create routines and all of that kind of stuff. And that was good. And that's what I needed in that moment because that's where I was as well. And I hadn't admitted to myself yet, like, whoa, I really struggled and now I'm on the other side. But I worked with a coach to really help me figure out my direction and my journey and how I got here and how I really changed the relationship I had with myself. And that's where I'm at now. It's like taking women through the journey of finding yourself and loving yourself and getting back into your body and loving your body and being expansive instead of trying to shrink. And, I'm so conscious of how you talk to yourself. Go back to your childhood. When did your relationship with food and your body and yourself start? Like, what was your mom's relationship with herself, her body? Like, there's so much from childhood too. So the journey's just been ebbing and flowing. And kind of as I continue to grow and evolve, my coaching grows and evolves. The biggest realization is like, it's never been about the food, which is just like so crazy to get to be able to have that realization.
As you're saying it, I'm getting like chills. Every time you say like it's not about the food, it's about the relationship with myself, it's like chills. That's powerful. And it's funny because I've been doing a lot of healing recently, and a lot is really being brought to the surface specifically from childhood. And I think that's why things are being brought up, and I think that's why I'm struggling a little bit currently with food, because my relationship with food has gotten so much better over the years. And it's funny because it's not even my relationship with food. It's my relationship with myself, and because these triggers are being brought up to the surface recently, and these old wounds are being brought up to the surface, and I'm facing them. Like spirit's like, here it is. And healing's a forever journey. But I know that I still am specifically, this is the food aside, but specifically through this healing journey I've been on, what has been coming up is feelings of shame and my self-worth. And it's funny how I'm currently struggling with like, the food again a little bit. When these triggers are being brought back up to the surface, it's because I'm being challenged right now. And spirit's like, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. And food has been something that it's like my soul is trying to tell me something about myself, but that's just how it's coming out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I feel like food too, there's such a control piece with that. So even like that, I feel like it's like food has always been something you maybe for me, it's something that I can always control. So that's like a control thing. And something that's coming up for me is I need to surrender. I need to just like let things go and know that something too, that's why inner child work is so powerful. Like, especially if you're struggling with food, anytime you're getting triggered with food, take a minute before you even decide what to eat. Take a minute when you're feeling triggered, breathe to signal to your nervous system that you're safe, because food can either be seen as a threat or a survival strategy. It's like either a threat, or people turn to food as coping mechanism, or in my case, food was always a threat. So it's like actually breathing to get back into your body, signal to your nervous system that I am safe in this moment. We are safe in this moment. We are worthy. We are deserving of food, whatever I'm feeling. And like listening, your body is always communicating with you. What does your body need in this moment? What do your cells need in this moment? And like actually listening to your body has so much wisdom. It's always trying to talk to you, but first wants to know that it's safe, and breathing long, deep belly breaths, that signals to your body. Chills.
I have chills. Like, yeah, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but anyways.
It's powerful. It's so powerful because I think we get so disconnected from our bodies. We're so in our heads of, oh, what am I supposed to eat? Okay, how many calories? All this. It's like, let's breathe and get back into the body and like what you need in this moment. And you are worthy of food. You are deserving of food. And it's like finding that balance with food too.
And can I ask because I feel like I'm going to start doing that, let's say before I eat something or whatever, if I'm triggered, what would you say for somebody who has issues binging? Because I do, and that's something I've struggled with in those moments. Because I don't know if you mentioned you have experienced it. Maybe those listening, and I know it's going to be different for everybody, but for me, it's like in those moments, it's like I am so uncomfortable. My body is uncomfortable because I'm full, but it's like I can't stop. I don't know. It's like this. It's like why, and it's like maybe that's something for me to answer.
Yeah, but okay, so it's so powerful to know the bigger the binge, the bigger the emotion that is trying to be felt. The bigger the emotion coming up for you that your body's trying to suppress with food. It's like, oh, food has been seen as safety and comfort, especially if you do with emotional eating, binging. Food is safe. Food is comfort. Food is a survival strategy. Food is something that has never abandoned you, never left you, never hurt you, never done anything to you. It's been a coping mechanism it's actually trying to keep you safe when you're craving certain foods. So this is where it goes back to childhood. If you ate a lot of chocolate if you had chocolate bars growing up and you associated chocolate, like you had good times with your family when you would eat chocolate or ice cream, you've associated those feel good emotions with chocolate and ice cream from your childhood. Like you feel safe, you feel comfortable, you're in that feeling of safety, love, comfort, because that's like in childhood when you had those things, that's how it felt. And then now when you're feeling an intense emotion, your body, the wisdom of your body is like, oh, let's have chocolate, because chocolate, you've associated those emotions with chocolate, with ice cream. So it's like it's trying to keep itself safe and not feel these intense emotions that are coming up. So let's turn to food. And because we know that's going to make us feel better, make us feel safe. Like, for example, one of my clients, like, always wants McDonald's when she's feeling stressed or overwhelmed. And because when she was a child, she would always get McDonald's. It was a fun thing. They would go to McDonald's as a family, go have the Happy Meal, get the toy, all of that kind of stuff, feel good, happy emotions. So when she's feeling stressed and out of control, she'll binge on McDonald's because it's like wanting those feelings, those feel good feelings. But the powerful thing is you can give yourself exactly what you need in those moments. Instead of turning to food, that's where it's like you feel your emotions instead of feeding the emotions. So you actually sit, that's where the breathing, because in those states, it's so easy to just, we're heady, we're like so anxious, we're so in our heads, we're disconnected from the body. So it's like when you're having intense cravings, when you're feeling the need to binge, it's like taking that pause, sitting, being with yourself, breathing to create that safety in your body and being like, okay, what's coming up for me right now? What am I feeling? What part of me needs to be seen? Okay. And more likely than not, it's a younger part. It's a younger part that needs the love, that needs your attention. And you can just sit there and breathe as long as you need, and just be like, I love you. I see you. I'm going to let you feel these emotions. I'm going to hold space for you. I'm going to be here and being with yourself. And like, because the food is just a coping mechanism, it's just trying to keep you safe. But taking your power back from food, you have everything you need within you. You can provide that love, that safety, because it's just emotions, uncomfortable emotions that want to be felt, but we keep pushing down with food. That's where binging and emotional eating, like there's so many heavy emotions that just need to be released and felt.
Literally, like as you were talking, I started getting emotional. I'm like, Brittany, like you're hitting home. Like these are things that I think I know that I need to hear. And the chills that I'm getting, spirits like, listen up, like listen to what she's saying. I mean, just personally with what's been going on with me, it makes so much sense because like I said, a lot of things are coming up to the surface for me. And I feel like, with the binging, like it makes sense that I'm struggling with it now because these emotions are starting to come up and it's like my body trying to kind of go back to its old ways and numb, like, feel this instead of this. But I know that on this healing journey, they're coming up because I know I'm ready to feel these emotions. So things are making sense in my head now. And I'm going to do that next time this happens. So thank you. But sorry, keep going because I feel like I interrupted you there, but
No, not at all. I'm getting excited because I also want to share, like, I'm taking an embodiment course right now because so many of us, especially if you struggled with an eating disorder or like any self-hatred with your body, we get so disconnected from our bodies. So this embodiment course is helping you get back into the body, feel your emotions, all of that kind of stuff. So like if you're struggling with binge eating, if you're struggling with emotional eating, it's like, okay, before you turn to food, take pause and sit with yourself and identify the emotion that is coming up for you. Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling the feelings of abandonment, not worthy, not enough, not deserving? Like what feelings are coming up? You don't have to identify the story. You don't need to know the story behind these feelings. You just need to identify the feelings. And then, okay, where are you feeling this in your body? Are you feeling a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a heaviness in your shoulder, a headache? Like, where is this tension physically being held in your body? And then as you're doing that, as you have those things, I always get a really tightness in my chest and like my throat because there's like a lot of anxiety that lives there. So when I'm feeling anxious, I sit and I deep belly breathe, like in through the mouth, out like in through the nose, out through the mouth, like deep, because again, like I said, that's signaling to your nervous system that you are not in danger. You are safe. So deep breathing and then like tapping on the part of your body that feels like really tight or like that you're holding. So that's breaking up some of the energy that's surrounding that area. So you just want to deep breathe, tap, and like allow yourself to be in your body like that. And letting yourself just feel what's coming up, and your body again has so much wisdom. If you need to shake, if you need to like yell, scream, like literally it's just your body talking to you, trying to release shit. It just wants to be felt, it wants to be let out. So like actually breathing, getting up, dancing, moving around, like let energy out. It just needs cry, if you want to scream, scream into a pillow. Like it's just energy that needs to be moved out, that wants to be felt, needs to be felt. An emotion literally takes 60 to 90 seconds to fully be felt. So if you hold space for yourself, allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, truly feel what you're feeling, allow yourself to cry, whatever, like let it go. You can then come back to the present moment and be like, oh, okay, I'm here. I've got that was something that just needed to come out. And it's like you don't have to attach a story to it, but then it's like, wow, okay. And that's where the self-love comes in. It's like, oh, I love you. I'm so proud of you for feeling that. I know there's so much pain because that's what it is. Emotional eating, binging, it's pain. It's like it's just suppression and it just needs to be felt. We got to get, just let things come up. And that's a societal thing. A lot like we aren't to feel our emotions. If you throw a tantrum now, it's like, you are crazy. We need to feel these emotions as they come up. And when you're wanting to turn to food, when you're wanting to binge, when you're wanting to emotionally eat, that's your indicator that an emotion needs to be felt.
Wow. That's huge. And like, even as you're talking, it's like I'm feeling emotion come up. I'm feeling like there's so much truth behind what you're saying. I'm feeling it. I really resonate with it. And something that was really stuck out to me is when you're talking about how, your body is wise, it's all in your body, but we are taught to, disassociate from our body in a way and disconnect from our body. So how, it makes it really difficult to find the root of what's going on when society, the way we're raised is kind of, really pulls us away from who we are at the core and our body and this and that. And if we just take a minute to really start to listen to our body, there's so much power in that, because your body will hold on to things. And that's why I believe, if you believe in manifestation, things can manifest. You can manifest different illnesses in your body, different things in your body, because your body will hold on to things. And if you listen to your body, you can release those things just as easily as your body holds on to those things. But it's whether or not you're willing to let yourself feel and listen, and go wherever it is you're being guided to go, because that's the hard part too, is oftentimes with emotions, we're made to feel like we're a baby if we feel our emotions, or as women, we're too emotional, or as men, you're not supposed to feel your emotions. When in reality, you need to let yourself feel what your body is bringing to surface, because if you don't, you're going to be harboring things within you, which then can manifest into, like I said before, physical illness, this and that. But we really need to take the stigma away from like feeling your emotions equaling something that's weak, because it actually takes a strong person to allow themselves to feel their emotions. This is, both women and men and everybody in between. And often we feel like, I love how you said you don't need to basically intellectualize it, because I feel like we don't give ourselves permission to feel unless we know exactly where that feeling comes from. So we often try to intellectualize it, when in reality, we don't need to remember the exact event, because your body never forgets. You might not exactly remember what brought on that feeling within your body, but your body's going to have that feeling. And in order to release it, you need to feel it. And it's okay if you don't know exactly where it came from. I know with me personally, in my healing journey recently, I've been sitting and just letting myself cry or whatever comes to surface. And I find that by letting myself cry and by letting myself just feel whatever's coming to the surface in those moments is kind of when I remember, I'm like, oh, I remember feeling this way now, or this. And that's kind of when I remember those past things. It's when I let myself feel, but it's not the other way around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes you might not even remember, and that's okay. You don't need, I guess my point is you don't need to in order to let yourself feel. And that's super important. It doesn't make you weak just because you're feeling an emotion out of nowhere. It's because your body has, like you said, your body has stored that, and it's begging, it's screaming at you to kind of let it out.
It's something too, something that's so powerful is actually doing, I don't know if doing a breathwork session, because breathwork is actually helping you move around, like doing a guided breathwork session, because I've had guided breathwork sessions where I don't know the story. I go in with an intention of wanting to release of like any, like the fear of being seen or any shame or all of that kind of stuff. I go in with an intention, but I let my body do the work. And I do like the 3-part breath in a breath work. If you do like, if you go to like a facilitator, and there's full body releases. Like I cry, I shake, I fucking scream, I
Mm,
let everything out. I don't need to identify. I don't judge myself. That's the biggest thing. When you're feeling these emotions,
mm,
it's so easy to judge yourself and be like, why are you like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? It's like, just let yourself be free and feel and just let it go. Because, like you have talked about, when you don't feel this, you're living hell on earth. You're living the hell on
yeah.
earth. When you allow yourself to feel, you can be present because you're not holding on to anything anymore. And like, it's a
Hmm.
wave. Emotions comes in waves. Allow it to come in waves. Allow it to be really heavy, and then you feel great. And you know, like, let it come, release, go back down, enjoy your life. Like emotions are supposed to literally flow like waves. That's how it's, but so many of us suppress and don't allow ourselves to cry
Hmm.
and don't allow these things
Hmm.
to come up. But it's like validating yourself, validating your own experience, validating how you're feeling, because it's valid. It's not normal to be okay all the time. It's not. And if anyone is,
Yeah.
it's because they're suppressing so much of themselves, especially if you're struggling with an eating disorder, restricting, binging, emotional eating. It's like, what are you feeling? What haven't you allowed yourself to feel and allow yourself to
Hmm.
feel it? Because I know mine really stemmed from not feeling good enough, not talking enough, not being enough, not being seen,
Yeah.
heard, or validated. So therefore, like, just hold everything in and you need to look this way.
Hmm.
And it was so rigid and
Yeah.
but it's like when I started to open up and like see all of my pain from my childhood and really allow myself to feel these things, I am free. I'm here now. Like I can
Hmm.
speak like this and be
Yeah.
present moment here with you because I allow myself to feel things as they come up. And now food is just
Yeah.
added. Food is just an afterthought, honestly, for me now. Like I allow myself to go out and have pizza and have ice cream. And when I do get triggers,
Hmm.
I sit and I'm like, see my baby inner child girl. And I sit and I breathe and I'm like, oh, you are so worthy. You are so deserving of this.
Yeah.
You get to enjoy this.
Uh,
It's medicine for yourself. And then also having
uh,
the nourishing foods because you love your body. Your body's your vessel. It's your temple.
yes.
It's your sacred vessel, your home here in this lifetime. So like, yes, nourishing your body with nourishing foods, but then also
Yeah.
enjoying yourself and going out and eating what you want and not
Yeah.
tying the
Hmm.
shame and self-worth to the food.
Hmm.
And that really comes with that self-love and talking to yourself like you are your own internal parent and showing yourself so much love and compassion.
I just love everything that you just said. And I love how you said, like, talking to yourself like you're your parent. That's something that I've been doing through when these emotions are being brought up and I'm letting myself cry. And literally, I did this just like a few days ago. I'm like crying and I was talking to myself. I was like, you're okay. And I was saying what the younger version of me needed to hear, but never heard.
Yeah.
So I was literally parenting myself, and it came out in a way where, if somebody were to watch me, they'd be like, what on earth is she doing? Because I'm literally like, I would say something to myself in a nurturing way, and then I'd be like, and then I'd be like crying because I was like, I felt safe to release what I needed to feel. It was like two versions of me having a conversation,
Yeah.
like this newer version of me, and then the younger version of me that needed those things. Exactly what you said. It's being the parent to my younger self that my parents weren't able to give me. And this doesn't mean that you guys have bad parents or anything like that, right? Like we're all human, we're all here for this experience. And I believe most parents, do the best that they can with the tools that they have.
Well, yeah, and it's so powerful to talk to yourself like you're your own parent. Something too is even like going looking at yourself in the mirror and having these conversations because it's
Mm,
like getting comfortable with nurturing yourself and like
Yeah.
comfortable with who you see in the mirror, and like just giving your every time I'm feeling, I allow myself to feel, like I close my eyes, do all of that stuff, and then afterwards I go in the mirror and I'm like, I love you. I'm so proud of you. Like you've got this. I see you. We are here. Like
Mm-hmm.
we are going through
Mm-hmm.
this and I'm so proud of you. And like I literally talk to myself like I am my own best friend, my mom, my child. I literally, because that's
Yeah.
going to change the relationship with yourself, especially if you didn't have that nurturing love in your life. Like that's going to be so powerful to realize that you can give yourself exactly what you need and what you didn't receive because you get to be
Yeah.
for yourself. And something else that's really powerful, I even, because like for me, I have and had a really big fear of being seen and being heard. Like my anxiety, it's like the fear of being seen, fear of being heard. And I have my picture, my baby picture next to me. I keep this picture with me and I look at her in the
Oh.
eyes and I'm like, I've got you. I see you. I feel you. Like, trust me, we are safe. Like, I've got you. And it's just like being there for yourself because you can be. And it's so powerful. This is inner child work
Mm-hmm.
has been the most healing, most profound thing that I have done on my journey yet. And I'm just now like, I'm doing all of this like inner child. And then the next iteration is inner teenager because the inner teenager is angry and like really wants to be seen. But the
Mm-hmm.
inner child is wounded and sad and
Mm-hmm.
love and attention and to be seen and to be heard and to be felt and be validated. So the more you can do that for yourself, I promise you that will change your relationship with yourself. It will change how you view yourself. And in turn, it changes how you view food and your body. It's just all so deeply connected.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you next. I'm curious exactly how that process looked for you and how it kind of how your inner work has really reflected your has reflected or I don't know what the right word is, but how your relationship with food now looks and how, as you started to love yourself more, how did you start seeing the changes in with your relationship with food? I'm curious what that kind of looked like, just because I'm sure people like listening might be like, okay, well, what did you do? Like, what did that look like? Because a lot of people probably feel like with food specifically, there's something that they need to, it's like looking externally, okay, I need more discipline or I need this, I need that, when really it's like the opposite. There's internal work that needs to be done. And your, relationship with food is this way because of inner work that hasn't been done yet. And this is your body, your soul telling you like, look, there's something deeper that we need to uncover here. So I guess I'm just curious what that looks like for you and how it's still evolving, because I'm sure self-love, it's like a forever journey, just like healing and everything, right? We're learning to love ourselves more and more every day. So yeah, I guess I'm just curious how you would describe that, the unfolding of it for you.
Yeah. I feel like in the beginning stages of all of this, I was so strict with what I was eating and making sure it was healthy and so consumed on what I was eating, but then also like getting out of control, feeling out of control around food and binging. Routines have literally saved my life. So, what I do with my clients as well as myself is I have a morning routine, I have a nighttime routine, I have a meal prep routine, and I have a movement routine because those are the pillars of feeling good and listening to my body. And like how it changed for me is I started showing up for myself and I started changing the narrative in my head of what I thought I was. So, the more that you can show up for yourself and be consistent in things that make you feel good. So like waking up, doing a meditation or going for a walk outside. Like my focus was so fixated on food for so long, but when I started incorporating like different things that made me feel good, like my focus like shifted away from food in a way where it was like it wasn't
Mm,
all consuming because I was taking
mm-hmm.
showing up for myself, taking care of myself in different ways. And I was filling my space and time. And also, I was learning at IIN. So, like, food just became something that I needed to do to like eat and survive, I guess. Like, it didn't become something
Right.
like obsessive because I started meditating. I don't know, meditating literally helps rewire your brain and how you think and your neural
Mm-hmm.
pathways and all of that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So like having that daily meditation practice and having the daily practice of looking at myself in the mirror and saying, I love you. And I think there was a point where I was like over fixated on what I was eating, like making sure everything was healthy. The more I go on this journey of connecting deeper with myself, so having these routines in place, seeing where I need to set boundaries in my life with relationships, eating out, eating in, drinking alcohol, like with work, where do I need to set boundaries in my life? Okay, then identifying what ways that I self sabotage. So, getting really clear on this is like literally everything I do in my program to help you realize, like, to stop fixating on the food, to help you shift that relationship with food. Cause then
Right.
you start focusing on
Yeah.
other areas. Okay, like, okay, where do I self sabotage? And then
Right.
creating backup routines. So, like, you can always stay committed in showing up for yourself and
Mm-hmm.
also like becoming so conscious of your thoughts, having a conscious awareness practice. So, like, when you start thinking about food, oh, I need to eat this, or oh, I need this food is like, you know, having that awareness so you can be like, you can pause and be like, wait, okay, I hear my thoughts are coming back around to being solely about food. Where can I take a pause and what needs to be like, where can I like show up for
Mm,
myself right now and show my like see what I really need? And like breath
yeah.
work is so powerful. I started doing breath work. So I started filling my time with things that didn't revolve around food. And I just
Mm,
allowed it to be something that was something that also, which is interesting, it actually became such a creative outlet for me because I am very creative and I started making these recipes that weren't just salads because I'm like, oh my God, all I've done
yeah.
is eat salads. So I actually started making good recipes and like getting curious about different ingredients and adding in different ingredients and learning about the properties
Mm,
of them and how they can fuel my body and what works well with something else. It's like I started to look at food in a different light and start to enjoy it and like make different recipes that were, you know, nourishing, but also like good and indulgent and like stuff that I liked.
mhm.
So it became a creative outlet instead of something that I held so tightly onto. It's like I turned that into more of a creative outlet for me. So I think the more that I reconnected with myself, the food it naturally follows. But it's also so important to like if you are really struggling, like you need the tools to be able to connect with yourself so it's not just solely about the food.
Right.
And then also with
Yes.
like when I would go binge, now I get curious. Okay, now I have the conscious awareness of, okay, I know when I'm
Mm,
craving a certain food that there's an emotion here that needs to be felt. So, like,
mhm.
having that conscious awareness and that practice and knowing that
Mhm.
and you're wanting, you're craving foods, it's your body trying to communicate with you what it needs to feel safe in this moment. So, it's like, take just rewiring your relationship with food,
Mhm.
creating a deeper
Mhm.
understanding of what these foods have
Mhm.
meant to you in your life and how they've helped you survive up
Mhm.
until this point. But like you get to decide now. Like I don't does that make sense? Like really to reconnect.
100% everything you're saying, I'm just like, yeah, just taking it all in. Like everything totally makes sense. One thing I want to say too is it will probably look different for everybody, like whether it be maybe maybe you use food to punish yourself. For example, you don't let yourself eat. Why do you do that? Where is that from? Sit with that. For other people, because I do that too, I restrict, I also binge, like, and like I said, I've gotten a lot better. This is, it's an ongoing thing, and things are being, brought up to the surface recently, and it's because I'm doing some healing, and those uncomfortable feelings are coming forward. But I know it's pushing me in my growth. But I guess my point is, it'll look different for everyone. And, for me, for example, like the binging, I don't crave specific foods. Like that's not really something that comes up for me, but it's just this overwhelming feeling of anything that I can put into my mouth, and it's almost like the feeling of uncomfort that by eating is what stops me from feeling what's really going on. Because thinking about it now, I'm at
by doing that, I'm so uncomfortable in my body. How am I supposed to feel what my body is really trying to tell me when I'm masking it with this other feeling of just feeling uncomfortable? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's regardless of whether you crave food, whether you are punishing or whatever it looks like for you, I guess is my point is it'll probably be a little different for everybody, but the premise of what you're saying is the same. There's an emotion behind it, so it's sitting with whatever that is for yourself. And I love how you say it's when you're able to kind of, it's not just the food. It's if your mind is consumed by food, there's a reason, like there's something underlying that. And I could relate, like, when I was going through a lot of like my issues, like food was always, always, always on my mind. Like it was like the only thing on my mind. And, it doesn't necessarily let you be free in other aspects of your life when something has such like a hold on you, it's very restricting. And by letting yourself sit and be uncomfortable and feel to heal, it's like by doing that you're freeing yourself in a way, freeing yourself from a prison that you're trapping yourself in. And what I was going to say earlier, when you were talking about, you're safe, you can eat this food, you deserve it, it's also like the mindset you go in eating food is super important. There has been studies that have been done, let's say it's a broccoli or whatever it is, it could be the same piece of bread for you, a piece of bread for you. One person eating the piece of bread, this is gross, this is terrible for me, whatever. They eat it with that mindset, as opposed to the other person, I'm so grateful for this piece of bread, like this food that I'm going to be able to put in my stomach. There's studies that have been done that show that the person with the negative mindset, the food doesn't do much for them, like on a nutritional level. Whereas when you have a positive mindset, it does a lot more for you. So regardless of what the food is that's in front of you, mindset is key. But it's not like you could just scare yourself into having a good mindset. To have a good mindset, you truly need to do the work, which is the self-love. And that's getting your subconscious on board too. So if you're listening, don't just think, oh, I could just sit there and pretend that I'm grateful. It's like, it's a lot deeper than that. That's the work that really, really needs to be done. So
yeah. And I think too, just something I want to touch on too is like so much of this, if you were put on a diet as a child, the stats, this book called Fat Talk, I have it next to me because it's so good. This book called Fat Talk by Virginia Sole-Smith. If you're listening, there's so much research and so much studies that if you were put on a diet as a child, like 9 times out of 10, you will have an eating disorder later in life because
wow.
it's saying like, because your worth was put on your body, you didn't feel good enough. Oh, I can't eat what other people are eating. Like, oh, I'm not good enough. You create these little brains create these stories. And then it's like, if food was restricted in the house growing up, that leads to sneaking. And that leads to, oh, I'm going to take this up into my room and I'm going to eat this. And then later in life, yeah. So that's the binging. That's the scarcity mindset. So it sticks with you. It sticks with you and it's not your fault. And it's also another thing too, is like parents are trying to do the best that they can with what they have, like you said. And it's so much research and so much in this book that talks about like the shame and the like if your child is bigger, that means that you're not a good parent. But that's just not the case. Like kids are supposed to come in all different shapes and sizes, but parents are like, oh, we can't allow you to be bigger. So we need to put you on a diet. We need to make sure you're not eating these kinds of things. We're not allowing this stuff in the house. But for a child, that creates such an unhealthy relationship with food. It disconnects you from your body. It disconnects you from being able to trust that you know what you need at such a young age. So when you get older, it's like this relationship is so chaotic and it's generational. It's also like, and also looking at your mom's relationship with her body and food growing up and what was her mom's relationship with her body and food growing up. Like it's generational, it's passed down. And so it's not your fault that you feel this way. This has been going on for generations. But you can be the stop. You can realize that you are good enough and you have all the power within you. That you're worthy and deserving of food and your self-worth is not based on what you look like. So it's just, I wanted to touch on that because it is such a generational thing. And definitely if you were put on a diet, if you were in sports growing up and like, you know, they base so much of your sports and like gymnastics and all that stuff, like having to be really thin, like you're starting out that at such a young age.
Whew. Yeah, I'm getting chills again everywhere. Yeah, everything that you're saying, I think is really going to hit home with a lot of people. We're running up on an hour here, so just being conscientious of time.
Yeah.
I wanted to leave you the floor, no pressure, but was there any final notes or takeaways or anything you really wanted to hammer home that you wanted to leave the audience with?
I just want you to know, anybody to know that's listening, that's struggling with this, that you are not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. And there is a way out. There is a way to feel good. And it's so powerful that to get the support that you need to support you in feeling good, like it's possible and you're not alone. And the more you can own your story and be open about your struggles, the more healing and the more power that you take your power back from the food and all of that kind of stuff. Another thing, it's like, it's time for women, especially, but also men, women to stop trying to shrink their bodies and like get back into our bodies, own our body, own our sensuality that's been suppressed for so long. Like get back in the body, own your body, expand. Think about how many ideas and how much creative wisdom there would be in this world if women weren't so focused on what we looked like and what we were eating. It's like, it makes us not be able to be creative. So it's possible to take your power back. And when you do, you will be so floored at the creative ideas that come your way. And it's so powerful.
The chills again, just everywhere. That's powerful. I love that so much because women, I mean, men and women, but you know, talking about women, like we are, you know, the divine feminine energy, the energy of flow, the energy of creativity, intuition, like women, it's like you can always trust a woman's intuition. You know what I mean? Like listen to that. And it's so true. Like in order to really tap into that, you need to be in your body. And it's just so interesting how so many women, especially men and women though, are dissociated from their body. It's like, it's almost like they're, you know, and this could be getting into conspiracy and all of that. It's like when, you know, are they doing it on purpose to keep us disconnected from our body, you know, because there's so much power in intuition and being in tune with your body. And this is one of those things that's, you know, like I want to say like a pandemic in the sense, I don't, that's probably not the right word, but the sense, so this is so widely an issue. This is something that I think almost majority of people struggle with, like if in one way or another. And there's a spectrum, of course, is going to be more severe for some than others, but I feel like to a degree, everybody kind of deals with this. And it's just not something that's talked about enough. So thank you. And I think that's huge. Like being in tune with your body will really help you access the divine and your divine energy, you know? So thank you again, Holly, so much for your time today. For those listening, I will have all of Holly's links to all of your socials and everything in the description box below. So definitely give her a follow, check her out. You know, you've got tons of great recipes, like you said, on your Instagram and all of that. And yeah, just definitely give Holly a follow. Definitely check her out. Like I said, everything will be linked down below. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for being with us today. Thank you again, Holly, for taking the time. It's been, you know, we've been here since 9:30. It's 11:20 now. So it's been a while because we had the first time we tried to record, we had to start over. But so I really appreciate your time. And I know that, you know, I feel like the audience, there's a lot of really good takeaways with this episode. So I feel like it's going to be very valuable. So thank you. But until next time, bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
This is me, I'm so royal, and you all wanna be round. Yeah, you all wanna be round. Round a champion, a champion.